I hear so many people talking about and I know we talked about this tonight because that's our show, but I'm just saying in the manosphere, we talk about the educated woman when she's not even the majority. Why can't, if she's a non-factor and education doesn't matter, why do we have to even talk about her? Let's talk about what the minority. You understand? Unless you're saying that there is something about her that's different than the minority, which means her education does matter, whether it be the way she moves, she carries herself a little bit different, she looks a little bit different, she cares about different things a little bit differently than before. So if you can't acknowledge that there's a difference, then why are we even talking about her? Let's just focus on the majority. And majority of Black women are not educated. They're just not. They're in trades.
From what I've heard, just speaking to younger women, a lot of them are saying that they would, hey Marcus, that they're not attracted to men with that big of an age gap. So if they're like between 18 and 20, that they're not attracted to a guy that's in their 40s.
And they're not willing to date a 25-year-old grinder.
Yo, it's so crazy.
Am I this right?
Women want men in their social age group and expect them to make $100,000 more.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it is the funniest thing.
It's unrealistic.
It's unrealistic.
But let me. That's just.
But they work too and got a degree at the same time or something like.
So let's take the degree. Look, let's take the degree out of it because what we said that is not we always talk about that degree woman and she is not the majority.
Okay, level of experience.
Okay, so the woman who is the majority. Let's talk about the majority woman right now. The woman who has a trade with I don't know where she working. That woman.
Ulta Beauty.
I spent all my money at that damn place.
They all want to be muas. What do they call muas?
Mac counter. God, she's at the Mac counter. Let's think about this woman, okay? Why can't we have more conversation about this woman in trying to change her mind on things? Because she's the majority.
She's the most delusional woman on earth.
Then she's the one who needs to change her mind because she's delusional.
No, you can't. So I believe that is literally negotiating with a terrorist. Try talking to the
majority though.
Look, go watch Chic's show from earlier. Anna Margaret is 23. She has been a stripper on OnlyFans.
That is not a good example, Trigger Bite. Come on.
Like, Anna's a terrible example of Jesus.
So if she is delusional,
she is delightfully single and saying that she wants to smash as many men as she wants to and then be ready for a man at 30.
So let me ask you a question. Would you not agree that there's a different mentality of a woman who goes to get her formal education and there's a woman who does not?
You said, is there a what?
Yeah. Would you agree that there's a different mentality for the woman who goes to get her formal education than the woman who does not? Even if it's basket weaving, there's a mentality that she's a little different. Because if you're saying that you can't even talk to look, because you just said, I said, let's focus on the majority. And you didn't even want to focus on the majority because you're like, no, they just delusional. You put them all in the box. They're all delusional. So with that being said, you have classified that there's a difference between the two. Okay? So
I think there used to be.
You said what? There used to be?
There used to be. Because hear me out. There used to be a difference. And of course, there are women that there are upstanding women that, outstanding in their studies. They maintain their body. They make sure that they're seen as viable candidates for marriage. Like the group is getting smaller, but those women come out of college and preserve themselves for that because that's the way they want to be seen. Okay. But hear me out. There's no difference between the degreed woman's actions and the men they're smashing and the 23-year-old OnlyFans model. There's no difference. Their baby daddies all look the same.
So they're both a hot mess. So why do we focus on the minority and not the majority?
I can tell you what's a hot mess. These likes. There's 92 people up in here. There's 9 likes. Get them likes up.
Get the likes up.
Hot mess.
Tap that like button right now.
Right.
I get that a woman, but what I'm trying to point out is I hear so many people talking about and I know we talked about this tonight because that's our show, but I'm just saying in the manosphere, we talk about the educated woman when she's not even the majority. Why can't, if she's a non-factor and education doesn't matter, why do we have to even talk about her? Let's talk about what the minority. You understand? Unless you're saying that there is something about her that's different than the minority, which means her education does matter, whether it be the way she moves, she carries herself a little bit different, she looks a little bit different, she cares about different things a little bit differently than before. So if you can't acknowledge that there's a difference, then why are we even talking about her? Let's just focus on the majority. And majority of Black women are not educated. They're just not.
Yeah.
They're
They're
in
not.
trades.
They're addicted to social media. They all are. So they do. They're
all of them are addicted to most of them.
all of them. All of them.
Right. So
Didn't they ask somebody on a panel, if you could get married right now to the right man and abandon your Instagram, would you? What did all the girls say? No. They're all addicted to social media.
do y'all understand my question? Am I
No, I don't. Somebody
okay.
help me out.
So does anybody understand my question?
Not really.
So okay. We talk about the educated woman. I hear in this space, not necessarily in this chunk, because we were talking about it for a reason, but I hear about it in this space. But she's not even the majority of the Black women. Okay? The majority don't have college degrees. Okay? That's a fact. So why are we even talking about her when she's not even the majority? It's kind of like when we talk about the high value man, they're not the majority. You understand? So if we're talking about a minority, why are we even looking at minority of women? Just like, why are we even looking at minority of men? Why aren't we focused on the majority? And majority are not educated Black women. They're not.
And the majority of men are not out here having babies out of wedlock.
What?
Like what we were talking about earlier. If we're talking about majority, the majority of Black men are actually not out here having babies out of wedlock and being absentee fathers. That's just not the majority. That is the minority.
Fatherless homes. So when we talk about fatherless homes, we weren't talking about the men themselves, but we're talking about the home, fatherless homes.
Yeah, but still, that's the majority of men are not part of fatherless homes.
We weren't talking about men.
I just want to clarify your question, Shan. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. You're saying that in terms of potential marriage, why are men focused more on the educated woman when there are minority, when they have more options of choosing those who are not educated? Is that what the question is?
So okay. If education is a problem, okay, and educated women come with attitudes. Educated women come with all of these things because of their education. Just choose from the majority.
Well, we could say that
the majority of women are not educated,
and the majority of women don't want the average 5'8" man either, making $65,000 a year or 45. I mean, I don't know what the actual number is, but they want the high earning man. The high earning man wants the educated woman. It becomes circular, right?
You said what now? I'm sorry. Repeat. I'm
So
sorry.
everybody want what they. I ain't gonna say can't have, because I do think you have, but that's what you're saying. Everybody is focused on the things that they want, that is kind of what they think might be out of their reach.
The majority wants the minority,
right,
on both sides.
Okay. Shan, could you explain, in your perception, how you see them, how you're hearing them talk about educated women? Maybe that add more clarity to it. Like, what are you hearing them say that's bringing that up?
So what I hear in these spaces is, oh, she always brings up her education. She always, the negative. And I know, I've seen it myself. I told Mistaken, I ain't never heard a woman say that, but I've met one that does do that. But so I know that they exist. But my question is, why are we dwelling on them when they are the minority? Majority of the Black women don't have education. They don't have a formal education outside of high school. That's the fact. Majority are not. So with that being said, okay, choose a girl who, that's a problem. If you're getting that consistently with an educated, formal education woman, just don't choose a formally educated woman. Go to a woman who's not formally educated. Because
Okay,
she can't about the education she ain't got.
Okay, I think I understand the question. So I don't think it's so much about the. Can you still see me?
I guess.
You're static a little bit though.
Mm-hmm.
Marky Mark.
You can hear me though, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're
Let's
starting
talk. I'll
to-
tell you if you take it.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, you
So I think I
froze.
understand the question.
Go ahead. I hear you.
Did I come back yet?
You did.
All right. So the issue is if you like looked at a lot of KS videos, he had a sounding board, right? And I'm a PhD was one of them. And on there it was like a list of things that women who were delusional to the point that maybe they wouldn't get married hit a check mark list. So I think that just gets grouped in there. It's like, what's your dress size? So you fell into that category because you hear men complaints typically about the same list of things. And a lot of that stuff is what KS used to talk about, right? Like overweight, attitude, or I'm a PhD. And I think PhD don't just reference education. It reference the I'm better than you mind state. So that's really what they're saying. So you don't really even have to have a PhD to have that mind state. It's just to assume that you're better than the men that would be your equal cohort. So it's not as much an education issue as a I'm better than you or inflated and maybe even delusional self-esteem issue.
I think it's also from social media too. So even the women that haven't maybe gotten, because again, I don't think it's necessarily all the time the education, because I have met or I've seen women. I mean, we can find examples for all of these different things, but regardless, I think that even women who are not educated or are going to school are still exposed to these different things and are getting and receiving attention maybe too, like us women do, but then they get that sense of entitlement, but also that attitude and that just that mindset, I guess.
I guess for me, I think that then we should tackle that. You know what I'm saying? Because it gives a false sense that you're talking about educated women when you're not talking about educated women. Just go after women in general and say, look, you know, y'all all have an attitude. You know, when you come into the relationship, I guess because they literally say the talking point is, oh, you lead with your education. So that will only be educated women because
they also include you lead with your money. You lead with your profession. You lead with your BBL. I don't know. Something that would give you
your BBL.
I might not be a good example, but
that's even smaller percentage.
yeah. Maybe the BBL is better.
Right.
But it's speaking to a mind frame. Like if you ever been around somebody who puts value on something more so than anybody else and then tries to make you assign that same value, that's more the conversation.
Well, again, everybody, let me just, y'all not gonna sit here and influence me that everybody out here balling. I don't believe
there's no way.
There's no way. Right.
The majority of Americans make 50 grand. Like what? Some people just have to be okay with
that. So if you know that that's I'm not understanding why you just won't date that chick.
How often do you see women say, I'm independent, I don't need no man? Or how often have you like
that's what we're talking about today.
I don't think women will settle sometimes.
Now that they going to get the food stamps, they need a man.
I'll be honest. I have never been in a situation where I've seen women that say, and again, maybe it's because of my age group, is, you know, I don't want no man. I don't need no man. I haven't seen that. Most women that I know have already, if they are saying that, it is a matter of they've already been married and got divorced. And now they're like, I'm done with that. You know, I don't want to get married anymore. But never have I heard any women say that they don't want a man or need a man.
So I think the translation from that to current day, because that might have been like the 90s, early 2000s, where that was like a real phrase. Now I think the translation, or at least how men perceive it, is I don't want a man. No, I don't need a man. I want a man. Do you hear
that? Doesn't sound sustainable over a long time. You know what I mean?
And I think that all women, I think when they say that, they're not thinking, because I think all women need a man. They just don't think of, they can't think of right now what they need a man for. Because there's been times where you'd be like, it'd be great to have a man in the house right now for something, and you don't think about it until that time comes. So I think that I have heard women on the internet, not in real life, but on the internet, use those talking points. But I call it bluff. You know, I think it's all bluff.
I think. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Now I think that both sexes have like they talking points that they think are universally translatable, and they translate very differently than what they're actually saying. Because if from listening to the women say, I don't want a man, I don't need a man, I want a man, what I believe they're trying to say is my life is pretty good, and I don't want you to feel like I'm beholden to you in order to survive. And because I'm not beholden, I want you to know that I actually am choosing you. So to me, what I'm saying is better than I need you. It's I want you, because I have everything I need, and yet I still want you. But that's not how men hearing that. Men, we typically hear that like we want to be needed. That's
a fact.
If somebody, you know what I'm saying? Somebody called me and say, hey, can you help me move? I don't need you to, but I like you to. And then somebody else called me and say, hey, I need you to help me move. I really need you to. I could be better friends with the person that said, I want you to help me, but I'm going to help the person that said, I need you, because I'm going to prioritize them differently. I think we allow the difference in the way genders communicate to create divisions that may not really need to be there. And we may be saying something similar, but the way we interpret words and we interpret communication is vastly different.